Hey everybody, here we are at Uberflip's conference. You might remember the name, it's right here behind us, the Uberflip Content Experience. And we're here with a panelist from today's experience here in Toronto, and it's Ramy Nassar. And Ramy, you did very well today talking about artificial intelligence, which you had a different sort of slant on, a different sort of perspective. Can you tell us, is it really artificial intelligence that people are expecting to change the world?
Sure, I think we'll get there eventually, but right now I think a lot of the strategic opportunities have to do much more with augmenting kind of human intelligence and using machines and advanced analytics and algorithms and those types of tools to really make better decisions, faster decisions, and leverage broader sets of data sort of in decision-making processes.
Okay, so it's interesting that we can still have the acronym AI, but go to augmented because I think as you pointed out in the panel, we're kind of at the machine learning stage, are we not now?
Yeah, I mean, machine learning being kind of a subset within the artificial intelligence realm, it's one of the most developed areas. There are people working on other areas of artificial intelligence, but the idea of saying that it's augmented intelligence, I think it's just a little bit more grounded.
Yeah, and maybe keeps our expectations more in check than just going to the science fiction, which will arrive.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen next Wednesday.
Right. The robots are on their way, but they're a few years out, basically.
Yeah. We can live without robots for a while.
Probably. There
Really?
are some people using some robots for some very strange applications. A lot of hotel chains are doing hotel robot-assisted delivery of goods. So if you forgot your toothbrush at your hotel and you're at one of these pilot hotels, there might be a robot on its way up the elevator to come drop off your toothbrush. It's happening right now.
Now, Ramy, you used an example this morning, or a metaphor, if you will, of chocolate chip cookies and machine learning.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how that makes some sense?
Sure. I just think that it's an interesting way to explain what machine learning is. So if I asked you, how big should a good chocolate chip cookie be? How big would you say?
2.5 inches.
2.5 inches, great. How many chocolate chips should it have?
8.
8, great. So we could build an algorithm and design it that says if any cookie is between 2 and 3 inches, let's say it has 6 to 10 chocolate chips, that's considered a good cookie, and we could do a quality control system that measures number of chocolate chips and measures diameter of cookies, and we could really manually build that algorithm. The idea between machine learning is we would do a very different approach to creating that algorithm. The algorithm itself would learn from the data. So what we would do in a machine learning example is we would take 100 cookies. You as a cookie connoisseur would go through and mark which cookies of the 100 are good, which ones are bad. You wouldn't necessarily measure, you might just do it by gut feel because you just know them so well. And then we are training this algorithm based on that first kind of intake of 100 cookies. It's called supervised learning. And then we would take cookie number 101 and have the machine essentially guess or make a prediction on whether it's good or bad.
Right.
That actually sounds harder to do than manually programming the algorithm. The idea here is that while we only have 2 input variables, which is cookie size and number of chocolate chips, in real-world applications, we may actually have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of input data points, at which point a human can't anymore manually program an algorithm.
Yeah.
And that's machine learning.
Also in the panel this morning, Ramy, you were talking about an experience you had at Panera Bread, which I thought was really instructive for us to realize how people could be using machine learning, augmented intelligence and reality, and combine it with a really good human experience. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I was at a Panera Bread in the DC area last fall, and as I walked in, I was, in a friendly way, greeted with some obnoxious hosts who insisted that I use an iPad to order my food. I wasn't in love with the idea, but myself and my 2 friends, we used the iPads and we ordered our meals, and we sat down with those little buzzers that they give you.
Yes.
Our meals got brought out to us, and shortly thereafter, someone came by to ask us how it was. Someone offered to exchange one of the parts of my friend's meal who felt guilty. He had ordered chips instead of an apple, and they came and cleared our plates for us. And I realized that the same staff that typically would have been doing sort of very basic order entry had now been repurposed to provide a higher level of customer experience. And while there was no AI or machine learning happening there, it was still using technology to augment a human experience. And I loved it.
So it seems to me that we're still talking about how quickly you can gain understanding is still kind of the epitome of good marketing is not just having the data, but processing it into knowledge and then understanding what that knowledge could mean to your business.
Yeah, I think so. I think at the end of the day, we have to still ask why. And while machines are pretty good at telling us what and sort of assimilating data and results and finding patterns, extracting the insights from those patterns for now is still a very human activity.
Right. I mean, one of the things you've been interested in and involved in for the last 5 or 6 years has been TED. And you've done TEDx Waterloo. So what's going to be happening in, let's say, the Waterloo area on TEDx?
Good question. TEDx went on hiatus in 2013 in Waterloo, and the same core team is actually getting together pretty regularly right now, working on a new concept around ideas, but also around action, around mystery, and not necessarily AI, but actually measuring the impact of some events. So it probably won't necessarily be a TED event, but we're working on something new for the new year.
Okay, so you'll be sharing that with us in another episode of AQ's Blog and Grill in the near future, I hope.
That's the idea, yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us today on AQ's Blog and Grill. We've been with Ramy Nassar, and it's been fascinating chatting with him. And tune in next week for another great episode of AQ's Blog and Grill. Thanks, Ramy.
Thanks, Alan.
All right.